I've started the broadcast.
Hi, Brad. You have started that broadcast, but that's okay. Good afternoon, everyone. We will give it a moment or two while we're just trying to sort out some technical difficulties on this end, just to make sure that we can show the presentation.
This is I'm sorry, I'm actually sharing my screen at the moment, as far as I can see.
Awesome. Great. Yes,
Yeah.
you can just take it to the beginning.
Okay, great. So that's working fine. Okay.
Fantastic.
If you don't mind, just I'll try and run through as automatically as possible. But if I am stuck on a slide, just give me a hint and I'll move on.
And no problem at all. For
Great,
everyone that's joined, welcome this afternoon. Please make sure that your audio settings are set that you can properly hear us. Just check your audio settings, and then there's a right-hand side panel where you will be able to see the dashboard that we'll be using today. So you'll also be able to raise your hand if you need to ask a question, and we'll give some time for you to ask certain questions as well. So you'll see that that is all on the right-hand side. There's also a question box. Please make use of the question box and pop across any question that you may have during the presentation. Right at the end of the presentation, we'll try and address as many of the questions as we can. We really want to give each and everyone the opportunity to ask those burning questions. So if you don't feel comfortable in raising your hand, then you're welcome to just pop across that question. Today, most of you have heard Brad's voice. We've got Brad Gerard joining us all the way from Cape Town. I'm here in the comfy of my home in Pretoria. We also have Charlene, Rihanna, and Niku joining us today. They are the team from the tutors for our tutor team that you would be dealing with most. So they are here joining us today as well to assist with all those questions in the back end, any questions that you may have during this presentation. We normally give it about a minute or so, but today we've actually taken up more than that minute, trying to sort out some technical difficulties. For some reason, I really struggled sharing my screen, but Brad is helping out on that end. We thought that after all of these webinars that we've been hosting that we are pros, and then it throws you a little bit of a curveball. Brad, let's start. So we can go on to the next screen. Let's run through the presentation. Thank you for joining. I'm Suzanne Prinsloo. I'm Head of Client Engagement, and it's wonderful to be spending this afternoon with you. So let's start off with today's presentation. This is an information session specifically for those of you thinking to join our tutor team, wanting to register to make use of our products and services. So we'll give a bit of an overview of who we are, where you fit in, and what the tutor landscape looks like. Thank you, Brad. So Impaq at a glance. Brad, you can quickly move through these slides. So Impaq, as many of you may know, is a member of Optometry, and we specifically part of the home division within Optometry. Optometry consists of 4 main divisions: Optometry Home, who looks after our home education clients; Optometry Classroom, more focused on our classroom offering to schools; Optometry Workplace, who designs specifically for the workplace environment, training for workplace environment; and then Optometry College. We acquired College SA last year, and we're serving just more than 5,300 students on that end. So we provide a wide number of products in the home channel. Impaq, the one that we will be focusing on today specifically, Cami, Quanta, and then obviously our Optometry Linwood campus. But Brad will be dealing in much more detail with these a little later on. Impaq is currently the largest home education curriculum provider in South Africa, with just more than 18,000 learners across the country, even as far as Namibia, and we have a couple of students overseas in other countries as well. We have more than 17 years' experience in this industry, and we provide products, services, and tools that the home education parent needs for grade R to 12. We support a large network of tutors, independent tutors, just more than 1,300, if I'm not mistaken. We are now, Brad would have those numbers, and we are mainly owned by the PSG group. So that's in a nutshell, just to give you an idea what Impaq is and where we fit into the bigger picture of Optometry as a group. My task today is to specifically look at home education in terms of the law and also your role as a tutor within the law. This is often an area that is misunderstood not only by parents but by tutors as well. We will make these slides available as a handout. If we can't make it available during this session, then we'll definitely make it available afterwards to everyone who has joined the presentation today. So home education means a purposeful program of education. It is an alternative program to school education, which is provided under the direction of the learners as parents, primarily in the environment of the learners' home. And it may include tutorial or other educational support services secured by the parent. And this is quite an important point to raise, especially when we talk about tutoring services. And it also must meet the requirements for the registration of a learner for home education. And then obviously we mentioned the section in which it is contemplated. So the current legislation is mainly the Schools Act that we often refer to. And we all know that the Bella Bill, which regulates home education, has been under discussion for quite a while now. It is not a final document that is ready as yet, but these are some of the pointers that has already been discussed. What is important to mention at this point is that home education has been legal for a very long time. It's been legal within the Schools Act. So obviously parents has the option to choose either to send their child to a school, or they can choose to home educate their child. And throughout this, we often refer to the compulsory school going age, which is grade R to 9, or more specifically, grade 1 to 9, or the age of 15, as mentioned in the Schools Act. And then grade 10 to 12 in the FET phase, that is seen as a complete phase, which a different kind of registration is necessary for. In terms of what Impaq offers, that is distance education for grade 10 to 12, as that is no longer compulsory school going age. So a lot of the law refers actually to the compulsory school going age learner. So a parent of a learner who is of compulsory school going age may apply to the head of the department for the registration of the learner to receive home education. And that remains the same, even though there's a lot of talk in terms of the changes within the Bella Bill. The Bella Bill is there just to find better ways to regulate this in some ways. It's not to take away that decision from the parent. And then the head of the department, the Provincial Department of Education, then obviously needs to approve that application to register. Brad, you can continue, thanks. So the parent undertakes within this regulation that they make suitable educational resources available to support their learners' learning, that they monitor the learners' learning, and that they arrange for the learners' educational attainment to be assessed, and that they also provide the head of the department with the learners' assessment report that is signed by a competent assessor, which is, in this instance, often the facilitator, which is the parent. at every phase. They need to see that the parent actually has the correct guidelines in terms of how that learner needs to be assessed, and need to provide the guidelines in which they are assessing this child. Thanks, Brad. A parent may, after a learner has completed grade 9, and this is how, when I refer to specifically the school going age, once the child has completed grade 9, they may choose to enroll the learner at a public school or at an independent school for the completion of their grade 10 to 12, the FET phase. But the parent who decides to continue with home education, or a parent who decides to rather do home education post grade 9, need to enroll their learner with an independent service provider who offers distance education. In Impaq's scenario, what we offer is a registration with Cami. Cami is the assessment body that looks after home education, and they also are overseen by Umalusi. So at the end of grade 12, if a learner completes their grade 10 to 12 through Impaq, they still receive an Umalusi certificate, the same as a mainstream school learner, the same as an IEB school learner, at the end of their grade 12, a national senior certificate. Okay, so where does that leave room for a tutor within the law? And this is the point that needs to be raised. A tutor provides supplementary education services to learners registered either at a public school, a private school, or for home education. And that is by law how it is termed. A tutor is a service provider to those learners. And we'll go into a little bit more detail in terms of this. So this does pose some challenges for tutors at the moment, and we are aware of these challenges, and this is why we raise them, and we have this conversation early on when a tutor decides to start making use of our program. There's an increasing focus of authorities to clamp down on centres that operate as a school. And we will talk a little bit more about that. What does it mean to actually look like a school or not? And they do clamp down the moment when a tutor centre or some kind of educational facility presents themselves as being a school. The Provincial Education Department use various methods to close these centres, masquerading as schools. So they do inspections from time to time, or when they receive reports, especially within the community, if a parent was under the impression that it is a registered school, then they do often report that to the Provincial Education Department, or if your neighbour finds that you're running like a school, they often report, and then the Provincial Department, Education Department, are well within their right to close down such an illegal school. But do note that we do have a legal department at Impaq. So if you're not running a school and you're not running something similar to a school, but you are indeed offering tutoring services, then you send that document through to us. They've got to give the reasons in writing to you to stipulate why they see you as acting as a school. And we can then respond to that and mention the points that they've raised. You do have time to rectify. We have seen it in the past that a provincial officer will come to a tutor centre and say, you've got to close down immediately, you need to send the children away. That is not the case. They've got to give you time to rectify the situation. Thanks, Brad. So there's also no provision, just the previous slide, thanks. There's no provision for a tutor centre as a formal educational institution within the law at the moment. This right is only reserved for schools who are registered with the Department of Education. So once you register with the Department of Education as a school, you get an EMIS number. So only if you've got an EMIS number and you're registered as a school, may you use the word school somewhere within your name, either school XYZ or school learner support, you need to be very careful in using the word school the moment that you are not registered as a school, because that is sort of the first point of interaction where they will tell you, listen, you are operating as a school because it is there. The moment that a head of a tutor center call themselves a principal or a school principal, or the tutors at the center refers to themselves as the teachers, those are the kind of things that's perceived as running as a school. A timetable perceived as running as a school. So that right, and it needs to be mentioned very clearly, is only reserved for those registered as a school. And there's no ability for a tutor center to register a learner with the Department of Education. Impaq can also not register a child at the Department of Education. Once a parent decides that they want to home educate their child and they do not want to send them to a mainstream school, the parent is taking that responsibility away from the school and taking the responsibility into their own hands. And therefore, the parent must register their child with the Department of Education for home education. If they then make use of the services of a tutor, which is allowed, then they must also only state that they're making use of the services of a tutor for certain areas which the child need additional help with. But the parent cannot transfer that right to Impaq. They cannot transfer that right to the tutor center. Thanks, Brad. So I have mentioned some of these points already, but operating without being a school means you provide extra classes. It remains a responsibility for home education to be done by the parent, but you can provide extra classes. You do not call yourself a school or even make mention of the word school. And you do not perform official assessments. We often find that tutors want to test the learners on their work, which is a normal thing, especially since so many of our tutors that makes use of our products and services do come from a teaching background. So they will easily say that they are testing the kids to see whether they are on par. Impaq provides assessments that you may use. It's the same assessments that the parent would be able to use at home. You can assess the learners on this work, but you are still only supporting the parent, and the parent needs to be also kept in the loop of what you will be doing and what kind of service you will be providing. You can also then not do an official statement. You can't give a report card to those learners. Marks are uploaded to Impaq's official our online platform, and at the end of a term, at the end of the year, a report card is pulled from that. As a service provider, this is a service that we do offer, but as a tutor, you are not allowed to have your logo somewhere saying that this is my school's logo. It will be seen as a school. And you cannot enroll the learners with Impaq on behalf of the learners, because it's a contract between the learner and Impaq, the parent and Impaq, and you have a separate agreement with the parent in place. Thanks, Brad. It also means that you do not charge school fees. So we often get questions around this, but how do I then ask a fee for the services that I'm offering? And here we suggest that you rather offer your services either per hour or per subject, and you come to an agreement. If it's a fee that that parent then pays monthly, stipulate very clearly that there's no misunderstanding between you and that parent in terms of what the services are that you will be offering. Have it line by line that you are providing services in terms of this subject for so many hours, and that is what the parent is paying for. The moment that you charge a monthly fee as an all-inclusive monthly fee, it will be seen as school fees. Remember that attendance is not compulsory. Again, tutors coming from a teaching background will say, but the kids need to be in class. Otherwise, they won't understand the work. They won't grasp what they need to learn. Attendance is not compulsory. Remember where the responsibility lies. The responsibility lies with the parent. So the parent needs to decide whether that child comes to class or not. So you offer a certain service and you have to have that in your agreement. And almost in the same scenario where you would book a session, the learner doesn't show up for a session, and you need to have a cancellation policy in place. If they haven't cancelled that session before a certain time, then they have to still pay you for that session that they did not show up for. But attendance cannot be compulsory. There cannot be a timetable that you've got to be in school from 8 to 2, because that would definitely be seen as operating as a school. The contractual relationship I've referred to every now and then, it's so important that you've got a really proper contract in place with the parents. Ensure that they understand what you are offering, understand Impaq's role, and understand what their role is. They truly need to understand the role that they're taking on the moment that they decide to home educate their child. And this point is very important in terms of Impaq. Do not copy Impaq's material. It would definitely be seen as copyright infringement. So the role of a tutor, and this sort of reiterates again what I have already mentioned. But some of the points in here are really, really important. Do still provide a safe environment to facilitate learning. So the moment that you do embark on this journey, remember that you are still a public facility and you'll be running your own independent business. And that facility needs to comply with at least the minimum health and safety requirements within your local government. Guide the parent in terms of the proper administration of the learner's work during the academic year, and explain the relationship, as I've mentioned previously, between yourself and the parent and Impaq and the parent. And encourage parents to take responsibility for their child's education, not only in terms of them having to register, but also them having access to my Impaq, the online platform that they've actually registered for. We do often see this, and I mean, especially now with parents having their kids at home, where parents often say, but the tutor has taken care of this forever. The tutor is responsible for this. Involve them in that process, that they understand the role that they need to play and they understand what they actually have access to, and that they need to monitor this access. Assist the learners with products as purchased from Impaq by the parent. The access is granted to linked learners. So once you have a learner in your center that's registered with Impaq and the parent provides that linking documents to us, we link you to that learner. The parent then in turn actually gives you permission to assist them with uploading of marks, downloading of the assessments, the entire administration process behind that learner's learning. Guide learners through their work to ensure that they study optimally for their tests, and provide this as a service. Mention this to parents that this is one of the services that you offer. Do provide individual attention. That is exactly what tutoring is all about. Subject-specific guidance. Invigilation, post-approval, obviously, in grade 10 to 12, this becomes very important. In grade 10 to 12, it is compulsory during examinations that the parent makes use of an approved invigilator. We have this year begun a process where there's a little bit of a test that the tutor needs to do to register as an invigilator. And this then gives you that invigilator approval that you need to be able to supervise an exam period. Grade 10 and 11 examinations, June and November examinations, needs to be overseen by an invigilator. And in grade 12, it is the June exams and the prelims that needs to be overseen. It's only the grade 12 final exam that they write at a Sakai approved examination center. Also, don't distribute reports as issued by Impaq. We've mentioned this. And do not use Impaq's logo without our permission. Once you use our logo, and you are welcome to use our logo, we've developed a logo that specifies supply of our products and services. And this is the logo that you may use. Only send us your marketing material ahead so that we can give you the necessary approval for that. So this is the fun part where I hand over to Brad. So Brad, this is you.
Thank you very much, Suzanne.
Is there perhaps any burning questions? Perhaps just before you start, Brad, let's quickly run through some of these questions. If I see it's some of the stuff that you will be dealing with, we'll just skip over them, and then Brad will most probably answer this. I see that there's a question on what will be the going rate per hour per subject, just to know what to ask. Yolandi, this is really a very difficult question to answer. It differs from area to area, it differs from subjects. I think it is best to speak to some of the tutors within your area. You can even speak to some of our sales consultants who will give you an idea if they do know, but we don't have a specific amount that we can tell you to ask for this, as this is really very area specific as well. You're also asking about an example of a tutor contract. Even though we don't have an example of a tutor contract, we have started working on some pointers at least. But one of the documents that a fellow tutor actually gave us a little while ago helps you with exactly what I spoke about and understanding that role. What is the role of the parent? What is the role of the tutor? What is the role of Impaq? So that documents help you a lot already. So I know that the sales team will also be able to assist you with that, at least in the meantime. I see that Yuki has asked a question during lockdown. How does this work? Can we give a PowerPoint in short for parent and still ask a fee? Absolutely. So we have seen that the tutors are actually very creative during this lockdown period. Some presents Zoom classes, some presents classes via Teams, some even make use of webinar programs similar to this one. Small classes or one-on-one, and they still charge a fee for their services. And this is actually ideal to ask a fee for that particular service that you are offering. So we are definitely seeing that happening more and more, especially during lockdown. And then let me see. May you advertise that you will help with the admin around Impaq? Yes, you may. If you're a supplier, once you use our logo, you are a supplier of our products and services. And then the moment that a parent registers with Impaq, then again, you are indeed assisting them. So you can definitely add that as a point to say, for Impaq learners, we will upload the marks, we will help you generate the report cards, and you will add that as an additional service, even though the parents can actually do that themselves, but you can offer that as something that you assist them with. So it looks like I've answered some of the questions in the question box. Melania, I see that you have your hand raised, so I'll unmute you. Melanie Dutoy, so then you are welcome to ask your question. Melanie, you are muted from your side. Not to worry, well, at the end of this presentation, we'll give ample time for more questions too. So Brad, it's officially over to you.
Okay, great. Thanks very much, Suzanne. And thank you very much for that presentation. I think we've provided quite a bit of clarity on an area that can be quite confusing at times regarding regulations around homeschooling and what is required of you as a tutor and you as a parent. I think that something that we offer as Impaq to you as tutors out there is that guidance on what is going on. At the end of the day, it is a confusing thing, so we appreciate your time on this, as I said. To those of you out there, thank you for joining us from my side and welcome. I hope that you're all safe, you're all healthy. One of our questions already, as we saw, was on the lockdown. So what we are seeing in our environment is a big uptick in interest in homeschooling. Much of the confusion that is going on in the education department has made parents want to look at what can they do about their own children. But as we know from Impaq, from years of doing this, the majority of our parents do make use of a tutor. So although the legislation tries to make it very clear that you have no role, we know that you do, And therefore, my part in this presentation is to make sure that I can spell out how do you join us, what can we do to help you with your business as you go forward, and answer a few questions as we go through it around what our curriculum is, what we have to offer, and so forth. So there will be a full question session at the end. As Suzanne has indicated, please raise your hands during the presentation at any point. Please put your questions through in the written comment section as well. Then at the end, we will give it time for you to ask all those questions and we'll answer as best we can. Okay, so the first thing about joining us as a tutor center, let me just see if I can, I'm going to first close my picture and do my slides go through. Okay, great. So the first thing we need to look at joining us with as a tutor center is that we need an application form from you. So for those of you that have not received your application form yet, please let us know in the question box. Then one of our consultants, we'll share the names later on in the presentation as well. We'll then contact you, send you through an email with a whole lot of information, an application form, as well as a price list and some other things for you as well. We then in turn just need that application filled out and signed. And there is a once-off registration fee, which I'll cover a little bit later on, just go through it again. But once we receive the 500 Rand registration fee, proof of payment, the application itself, and a copy of your ID and a copy of the owner of the institution's proof of banking details, that's pretty much it. And then we can process it and get you going. So for those of you who are concerned that this is a long process, as I said, if you haven't received the information yet, just put your details in the comment section and we will then get back to you as soon as we can. And if you have, that's all we're waiting for on you. Okay, so once you've registered with us, you are then assigned a unique, what we call an H number, which is your tutor center number. And this is what allows you to access your learners' resources, access everything that you need about them to manage that process that Suzanne is talking about. So that process is both the administrative side, as well as then looking at the resources required to actually do the tutoring, which is what the parents are invariably going to employ you to do. So to help you along with this, a couple of things that we offer. First off, online lesson material and content. So this is something that we have a platform called Guided Learning. We'll chat more about that later on, which assists the learners with additional videos and quizzes and so forth. There are also webinars to assist learners. There is also a video YouTube channel where we then broadcast these webinars. These are on offer both to you as a tutor as well as to your learners to assist you in working through that content. We also have an administration system called My Impaq. This is a system that both the parents and you will have access to. But in the majority of cases, the parents will rely on you to manage this entire process through the system. So what we do is we give you access as a tutor to all learners linked to you. We then have tutor information sessions and webinars, much like this one here, where we do it with our existing tutors and share new information as well as share ideas. It's a great way to motivate each other as well as to learn from each other. We have access to training and resources. So we do courses periodically in many of our major centers where you can then be qualified as a reader and a scribe and whatever else you would need to assist your learners further going forward. We mark all grade 12 components. This is both a service and it is compulsory. And then in grade 10 and 11, we mark the examinations as well. So this is part of Sakai's requirements, but it is a great service that we offer to you as well. The assistance and guidance through TRAs, those of you that are already tutors with us will have encountered your TRA, and those of you who are new to this, your TRA will become a second arm, third arm, hopefully, in running your business. They'll be very valuable in terms of providing any guidance and support. They are dedicated to your center itself. So you'll always be dealing with the same person, and they are great. Niku, who's on here as well, is the head of that team, and I'm sure he can attest to how dedicated they are. Suzanne already mentioned that you will have access to legal advice. So we obviously have our own team of lawyers belonging to PSG organization. Through that, if you do run into trouble, obviously we recommend to you through multiple communications what you need to be doing as a center. And as long as you're adhering to that, we will then respond on your behalf and assist you with the Department of Education. It doesn't happen often, it does happen sometimes that an enable will complain about you or something, and from there something will arise. So always be sure that you are acting as you should. I think something I like to address in the beginning, and I didn't know, is that Suzanne keeps referring to the idea of not being a school and what you should be doing and so forth. And I think there's two sides to this. Firstly, you may not be a school, so don't try and be a school. Why would you want to? The children that are coming to you for homeschooling, for tutoring, are not fitting into mainstream schooling. So this is an opportunity for you to be very different, to redefine how these learners work. Our curriculum is great at letting them work through something at a pace that suits them, and then you can offer a support service. Use that, let it mull over, and I can tell you, you can give yourself a competitive advantage over what mainstream schooling currently does. And it's becoming a very hot topic. So you've got an opportunity, as long as there are people out there that are needing help, that you can help them. We also list you on our Impaq website. If you have gone on the Impaq website, you would see that you can search for a tutor near you. So there's geotagging. When you do your registration, give us the information you require as much as you can, so that we can then make sure that those near you know that you are there. Also, we have supplementary products, Cami Robotics Coding. I'll go through that in a little bit, so we can leave that. And then there's a wonderful online registration process. Now, for those of you who have not used it before or have used it in the distant past, it is a really smooth system. I say those in the distant past because apparently it wasn't before. It is now. It's a great system that is rather self-explanatory in how you move through the application process for the parents. I would encourage we do obviously have a manual system as well, but we're trying to save the trees and be responsible, so rather use the online system. Great. Okay, so we also have a communication and information channel for you to make sure that we assist you where needed. Obviously, we have email. The great thing with the email is that we're a large company. We get a lot of emails coming in, but as a tutor linked to us through a TRA, you get dedicated attention. Sorry, someone's mic is on that I'm hearing. Sorry, anyway. Okay, so that TRA, when you send an email, you'll see there we've included, Suzanne mentioned you will be getting this PowerPoint. The email address, their tutor support at Impaq, is manned by them. That unique H number I mentioned to you, please just remember, as a matter of course, whenever you send something through, put your H number in there, and it immediately gets directed to your tutor. There is an email ticketing system, which is very important in following up on whatever you have sent through. Something I would suggest, try not to bundle too many queries in one. What we do notice is if you are asking about academics for one child and then fees for another, it needs to be sent to different departments. So it's quite okay to group some queries under maybe finance or under academics. If you've got a few children, that's fine because it's going to one department. But it does get tracked with the ticketing system, so we can make sure who has received it, what is the response, so forth. So it's much easier if you group the ideas per topic, so to speak. Okay, and then we also have a great incoming call center. There are two channels, one for your parents and then one for you guys. So we have a dedicated channel to support you. We also, the Facebook pages, I think something that gets neglected a little bit in terms of how we share information is the Facebook pages. It's not a great two-way communication, but it is a good community to be part of. So whatever you're doing, whether it's foundation phase or certain subjects, have a look and join our Facebook pages. They will assist you in getting some ideas and understanding what's going on in the market. Website, one thing that I would say about our website that has improved drastically for those of you who have been paying attention is our frequently asked questions section. It is such a good resource for anything that you want to know, and it's kept up to date. So have a look through it. Pretty much anything you can think of will have been addressed there, and if not, we've got channels for you to communicate with us. We can help you further. Yeah, then also we have guided learning and My Impaq. I will talk in a lot more detail about guided learning a little later on, but My Impaq is the administrative portal. And this is where you as tutor will log on, see all your learners, see the assessments, download things that you need, upload, get reports, all of that sort of thing. Guided learning is more focused on the learner at this point. As I said, I will explain a little bit more about that. Okay, there's also additional support. Now, academic support, invariably, the academics is pretty much what our entire organization is based on. What we do is we build great curriculum, and we have a really strong team of academics building that curriculum and supporting it. So when you need help, they are there for you. I would still suggest the best way to communicate with us on the whole is to go through your TRA and specify what your topic is, that you can ticket it and track it through to them. Their email addresses are also available for you at any point if you want to send something through to the academic team itself. And they're also there for, as the education department introduces new subjects, they will be there to guide us on those subjects. On that topic, a question that comes up quite often, and I think it's always a good idea to address it, is this around the sex education in life orientation. Now, although it's not that topical currently, because there's something else that's quite a lot more topical, being the lockdown and virus and so forth, something that was very topical towards the end of last year was what the department bringing in a revised curriculum around sex education in life orientation. First off, they did not change CAPS. The department cannot change CAPS. Old ministry will need to review everything to change it, and if they do, we obviously build our curriculum around what the CAPS documents say. So first off, currently, there is no requirement for us to change our curriculum, and we will not be doing it because we are teaching according to CAPS. If it does change, something that we believe in quite strongly is that in home education, the parent takes the responsibility and is the facilitator. So if we should need to change our curriculum because CAPS does change, then we will keep any sensitive content in the facilitator section so that the parent and you as facilitator can decide what is appropriate to share and what not. I think it is important to address that. Assessment services. So all assessments are available and regulated on my Impaq, which I've mentioned. The material may be sent in for marking or moderation. So something that I encourage you to make use of at times is, if you're unsure about something, send it through for us to evaluate and moderate for you so that you can make sure what standard we're on. And then there are also a list of approved assessors specifically for your FET subject. Ad hoc visits. So this is where myself, Rihanna, and our team come in. We are consultants spread geographically throughout the country, and we pretty much cook and tier. That means that we come and visit you in person. We try to come a couple of times a year when we are allowed to leave our houses, and just come and give you support, listen to how things are going for you, do parents' evenings, chat to your parents, and help you really grow your business. This is obviously in addition to the TRA, who is your primary call in terms of your daily needs of what you may need from Impaq. And then webinars throughout the year, as we are doing now. We schedule regular webinars to update you on information and, as I say, to share ideas and face what is in front of us. We recently did a webinar with our existing tutors on ideas on how to manage the distance learning component of what we're having to do right now with this forced lockdown. And that's something to see how we do support each other, and how, as Suzanne was saying earlier to that one question of can we do this now during lockdown, there are some amazing things that tutors are doing, because parents want their child to continue working through the curriculum, and obviously they need the support of the tutor. It can be remote and it does work. It might not be ideal, and going forward we're probably going to have to reevaluate how we do everything, perhaps have less contact time, but again, that's going to be something we'll need to learn as we go along. Okay, as I said, we will be sharing this presentation with you. So here is a list of all of your consultants geographically, and feel free to contact us. If you have not yet received your information email with the application and so forth, please contact us and we will send it through to you. Okay, the next little bit is Impaq's offering for 2020. What I'll do is I'm going to go through what our primary curriculum is and how we can purchase it and so forth, as well as then look at some of our additional products that we offer. The first thing is our curriculum. So the main thing that we offer as Impaq is a grade R to 12 CAPS aligned curriculum. Okay, all products are downloadable. Apologies, to keep track of where we're at. Okay, all products are downloadable and they include additional support services. Parents can obtain quotations on the website. Something I would also suggest, often you will get questions about how much is it going to be? We'll give you the prices in a second, and what we do going forward. It's a non-obligatory quote that the parent can obtain by going through the registration process. So get the process started. It is valid for a month, but get that process started, and we can then encourage the parents and help them where they get stuck to get them registered. Okay, lesson material choices. Now, there are three major blocks of what we offer as a curriculum. They are split according to grades, as you can see, R to 3, 4 to 9, and 10 to 12. Main differences are whether you can get it hard copy or not, and so forth. So first off, grade R to 3, there are no ebooks available for learners in R to 3. The reason for that is that at this stage, the science very much tells us that learners need to work in a book still, need to work with developing fine motor coordination and so forth. There are very many digital resources available to supplement this. Our primary teaching is still in a book format for foundation phase. The facilitator books, you can choose either a hard copy or an ebook. What I would suggest for you as tutors is that you try to get a hard copy of each grade and subject to work through. This either you can purchase yourself, or with your parents suggest that between them they get a hard copy for you to be available. What you'll notice is that the ebooks are going to be cheaper. In any of the options where there are ebooks available, they will be cheaper. So you need to just make sure that you're deciding that ebook is better, both because it's cheaper and because you can actually use it. So just work with your parents on that, and then make sure you have at least a hard copy available. Not compulsory, but it is quite useful. 4 to 9, what you'll notice there is you have ebooks available for both learner books and for your facilitator guides. Now, again, with that, ebook will be cheaper. Be sure with your parent that the child can and wants to work in an ebook. We have had quite a few instances where ebooks have been purchased and then hard copy books have to be purchased at a later stage. So just be sure of that. Again, the facilitator guides are the same, hard copy or ebook. With our grade 10 to 12, because we make use of outside publishers as well, we cannot offer ebooks because we don't have a uniform digital rights manager that is acceptable for everyone. So we need to offer everything as a hard copy. So what you'll notice here, you have a choice of not taking a facilitated guide. So there you can choose either a learner book only or a learner book with a facilitated guide. Yeah, we'll come back to any questions in a bit. The pricing, you'll see here, again, this is being shared with you. The pricing ranges from something to something. It's quite simple explanation. From is assessment only. So with assessment only, it's going to invariably be cheaper. It doesn't include then our curriculum, our learner books, or our facilitator guide. This isn't a common option. Mostly you'd be selecting assessment only because a child is either right at the end of the year and you just want to get them through, and there's a few assessments they need to do and they don't necessarily need all the material and they're going to use their school materials and so forth, or if they would be repeating a grade and they've still got materials from last year. The most expensive one is hard copy books, facilitator guide, and learner book. Okay, I think that should be simple. One of the additional products that we have brought in for this year is Zulu First Additional Language. Now, what I would say is we're recommending this as a 5th subject, not as a replacement for First Additional Afrikaans or English. The reason being, quite specifically, we don't have Zulu available in as an additional language from grade 4 onwards, so the learners would be at a big disadvantage if they had to switch at that point. It is a great additional subject to stimulate learners, to offer them a new skill. It does come with a CD. My tutors that have used it say it is quite user-friendly. I haven't used it myself, so I can't offer more than that. Okay, I did mention to you that we have a platform called Guided Learning, and I said I would tell you a bit more about it. It is one of our more exciting things happening at Impaq, and in fact, at Optometry as a whole. It's a comprehensive learning platform that at this stage is focused very much on the learner itself. It is under development. There's a long roadmap for the development. Things will change and we will try to inform you as much as we can about where we are in that roadmap as we go forward. But with anything as big as this, those goalposts that we have often often do change. So one of the things that we want to bring in is that you as a facilitator, being a tutor, will have access and have a facilitator view, which will then give you a really good idea about where your learners are and what they have accomplished and what they've gone through and so forth. For the learners, currently the platform itself offers both a very good calendar item, and it seems that, sorry, my dogs are seeing some illegal walkers outside. My apologies for the barking. So as well as offering a great calendar where the learners can see what tasks are meant to be performed, when, and keep them up to date, it also offers additional resources for certain subjects. We are in the process of building out these resources for core subjects and different grades. I will in a second go through. In fact, let's have a look now. So these are the subjects that are completed in terms of content. So as well as having a calendar function and keeping the learners on track, a big part of what this is an additional resource to assist the learners in working through our curriculum. So our curriculum is still that core curriculum that you purchase, and then this currently is freely available as it is in beta. We're not sure what roadmap, as I said, will be in the future, but for right now, it's a great thing that you can use for absolutely free with the curriculum. The content, as you can see there, for maths, literacy, and mathematics and business studies grade 10 is complete for the entire CAPS curriculum. It includes videos, it includes quizzes, past papers, and so forth. And I know that learners that have been using it say that it's a really great help. These are subjects that we have partial content in, meaning that there, as you can see, there's content for certain terms or certain learning areas, but that the entire grade is not covered for that subject yet. So again, we'll share this with you. You can go through it yourselves if you need to, and that's just a little bit more of that as well. Something that is also very useful on the guided learning platform is our tutoring component as well. So within Impaq itself, we obviously have subject specialists, and our subject specialists will assist the learners when they are stuck on a question. And this is, again, a really well utilized function of the system, meaning that if a learner in grade 11 mathematics, as we can see here, is stuck, they ask a question, they then get a relatively quick response where they can actually attach things that they have for the concern, and the person assisting them can attach things back. And this is then recorded so that when they go back and have a look to study that area, they can see what was that discussion, how did they explain it to me. And we're finding that is very, very useful, as you can well imagine. Okay, we also have access to our Optometry campus. We have a campus in Linwood. I myself have not had the chance to go there. We were in fact scheduling a very big thing to go and have a look there just before lockdown, so we missed that chance. But as soon as we're able to, I encourage anyone who's able to and in the area to go and have a look and see what it's about. Which, yeah, it's an exciting place, I hear. Okay, some supplementary products. First off, Lego Robotics and Coding. Now, I'm sure many of you may have heard about the idea of bringing robotics and coding into the curriculum. I know our president has spoken about it last year in the State of the Nation address, that this will become part of the curriculum. And there's been a lot of talk around it. We're not too sure exactly where or when, if this is still going to be a priority. We imagine it will be and it will happen. But in the meantime, we've taken the initiative and decided to partner with Lego to bring a introduction to this topic to our parents, students, and centers. Now, when I say an introduction, I mean that it's not a official CAPS curriculum that we're following. It's more a play and learn type scenario. So what it incorporates is a kit, a Lego kit. I'm sure most of you should be familiar with Lego in one form or another. The kit is a box with all the pieces you will need, and it links up with a software program that's downloadable. And that program itself allows you as the facilitator to plan lessons. It gives you all sorts of lessons that you can follow. It gives you a guides on how to do pretty much anything that you want to with the system. But ultimately, what we find is the kids do it themselves. So there's no burden on you to manage the process. It's something that parents have been purchasing, that we found, as well as many of our tutor centers, and they're offering it as something either where they're charging children from local schools to come and do an extra lesson in robotics, or as a service to the parents and children that are linked to you. As I say, it is something that the children themselves can pretty much drive. There are 48 different robots that you can build out of the pieces available. You build one at a time. There are things that are necessary for each robot, such as a motor and so forth. It's got sensors, tilt sensors, and everything. And then it works with the software program for the child to program it to do something. And I can tell you, as soon as you start telling your kids, hey, we've got something where you can build a little Lego monarchy, and then you can tell your tablet to make it do stuff, they get involved. They really embrace it. And it is quite straightforward in terms of describing step by step what you do. It's designed for, as we say, grade 1 to 5, so it is simplistic. But it also is a great learning tool. A good way to understand it is that the child will learn to make a thing. So imagine a fan. They build the fan, and then they learn to make it turn, change direction, make colors, and so forth. And then they build through various 48 things that they can build and learn to program or tell to do something, to a point where you then give them an open question. So we have a problem now. What can you build, and what can you make it do to solve that problem? So that's the idea of where this coding and robotics is going. We are also in discussions with various providers to expand the grades that we're offering, and it's something that is going to be forming a big part of the curriculum at some point, and we're making sure that we are ahead of that curve and keeping you there too. Another thing that we offer is our Cami software, or Cami practice software. So Cami, there are two forms of Cami. Many of you may well be familiar with it. Cami's been around for a long time in schools as a practice software. The two versions are a web version that we have rebuilt as Optometry since we acquired Cami. The web version only goes up to grade 7, and it includes mathematics, special education needs, as well as perceptual skills as programs that can be practiced. Please have a look at the Cami website. I know that there was a free trial on offer. We'll just have a look on the website and follow the details there. And if you're interested, we'll immediately very quickly get back to you and support you with whatever questions you have. I can tell you that having used it myself, it is very user-friendly. It does give you as a tutor a great tool, especially now during lockdown, to be able to send tasks or send practice exercises to learners, and then to get reports on what they've done. The other form of Cami that we have is our Cami Offline version. So this is the old legacy Cami. It runs off a single device, so either a laptop or PC, and then you can have multiple users logging on with their own ID, and it keeps track of what they've done and gives you reports on that. There are 5 different practice softwares available. That is maths, reader, science, perceptual, as I mentioned, and literacy. If any of you are interested in hearing more about it, again, just reach out to us. One of the consultants will chat to you and give you a lot more detail, and maybe even schedule an online demonstration if you'd like to see a bit more. Okay, registration costs and referrals. So I mentioned to you in the very beginning of my session that there is what we need back from you is an application form signed, all the information on it, a copy of your ID, a copy of a proof of bank account of the owner, and then a proof of payment for the registration fee. So it's a once-off fee of 500 Rand. Then there's also a service fee. The service fee is not actually payable by you. This is something that comes off of your commission. So that brings me to the first part, referral fees. So whenever a child registers with us and they link you as a tutor, you then get a commission or referral fee on that. So you can see it's 3% on manual registrations. We want to save the trees, we want to discourage that, and also it's a very long process. So we're encouraging you and rewarding you for getting the parents to register online by giving you 6% for that. Those fees then accumulate, and you can use them to purchase your Cami or purchase your robotics or anything like that. Every year your fee will start at the negative of the service fee. So at the moment it's 850 Rand. And then as soon as your commissions accumulate and you have a positive, you can then spend that money with us. If you do go through a year and you haven't accumulated enough referral fees, that money is not invoiced and not payable by you. Okay, I think that should clear it up. If you're unsure, feel free to ask questions on that subject. Okay, I think that we're done with most of what we wanted to get through. I think now is a good time to open it up to questions. Suzanne, could I hand it back to you?
Absolutely. Thank you, Brad. Really appreciate that. So I see there's quite a number of questions that actually came through on the question box. Thank you for those, and thank you for Rihanna and Charlene and Niku working in the back end answering those questions for us. Really do appreciate it. Let's see if there's a couple of hands raised, because then we can take some questions. I see there's a hand. I just saw Irma van der Merwe. I saw that you've got your hand raised. I've unmuted you. You're welcome to ask your question, Irma.
Hi there, everybody.
Hi.
I would just like to know the life orientation, actually Brett answered it, is going to change in the, it's going to be, I think, more sensitive towards the child, and the parent, you as a allo teacher will not be able to give the sex education anymore as we do in grade 11 and 12. Did I understand it correctly?
Irma, I'll just quickly answer it from this end. Earlier on in the year, there was a big hoo-ha about the LO curriculum changing. The life orientation curriculum, the changes that's been suggested has not been formalized yet. So there was no document to say the changes needs to be formally incorporated. But what we do with any kind of content in terms of the books that we develop, whatever the Department of Education wants in terms of the CAPS curriculum, we align with that curriculum. But we make sure that we present all of the content in a very sensitive manner in our books. So we make sure that whatever needs to be presented by the facilitator is contained in the facilitator book, and that whatever the learner has, that we deal with that in a very sensitive manner. So we won't just outrageously put stuff in there. I know there was photos during the rounds on all of it, and whether that is true that it should be incorporated or not, we will always deal with the content very sensitively. There's actually a blog that Prof. Rita, our academic specialist, wrote on the subject that is available on our website that you can read more about this.
Thank you very much. It answered my question. Thank you.
Okay, let's see if there's perhaps another hand raised. Roxanne Lloyd, I see that you have a question for us. Roxanne, you have been unmuted.
Thank you so much for this presentation. I have two questions. The first is to do with the CAPS monitoring and curriculum coverage that state schools are expected to do. And I just wondered if that is obligatory for parents of this curriculum, since it is based on CAPS.
Yes, so our entire curriculum is aligned to CAPS. So the CAPS policy deals specifically with the way in which assessments needs to be done. So what we've done with our curriculum is aligned in such a way that it aligns exactly to the policy and the policy requirements in terms of CAPS. So what the parent will do, especially in that grade 10 to grade R to 9 phase, is that they will follow that policy. But it's nicely put together in the facilitator's guide, so that the parent is guided through this process, and we provide those assessments so that it is at a standard and on par with what the Department of Education actually expects. Because at the end of each phase, you actually need to prove that that learner is competent in that particular phase. So at the end of grade 3, they need to be competent in foundation phase. Grade 4 to 6, they need to be competent in the intermediate phase, and so forth. I do hope that answers the question.
Yes, you have. Thank you very much. Can I ask a second question?
Yes, you may.
Okay. Also to do with CAPS, I'm currently teaching at a state school, so I use CAPS. And I just wanted to know what states the Impaq materials and curriculum, or not curriculum because it is CAPS, but the materials and the way of approaching the subject. What sets it apart from a state approach to the CAPS curriculum?
So I think the big difference between home education and school is that in a school environment, you have a massive amount of kids in a classroom. The parent, the teacher, and I'm not sure where you teach. My husband is a teacher himself in a mainstream school. But spending individualized time with a child is extremely difficult. Getting through all the work, because CAPS is packed. I know that there's been a lot of critique around the CAPS curriculum, and it's such a full curriculum. But it is, in fact, a really good curriculum. It is just extremely full. And when you're sitting with a class of 30 to 40, in some cases even more, you really can't focus on the area where that child really needs their assistant, or the assistance that they need in a particular phase. So in grade R to 9, there is that flexibility where the parent can actually decide how much time they want to spend on a particular subject area or in a particular focus. So if my child is proficient in social sciences, for example, I can almost leave it be. It's an easy study subject. We can skim through it. We can deal with some of the aspects quickly and get it out of the way. If mathematics is his problem area, I can really spend individualized attention and time on that particular area. And that is where the beauty of a tutor comes in, where the tutor is a subject specialist and the parent can actually enroll the services of that tutor to help with that particular area. And that would be the focus area. When I see that my child is ready to write the test, my child can write the test. But let's just take, for example, the current situation that we are in. The kids can't currently write June examinations. There's talks about combining exams. There's talks about letting it fall away entirely. But for the home education parent who has access to the June examination, they're going to start on the 22nd of May. They're going to start in the comfort of the home without the stress. But if I feel that my child is a little behind and still needs to catch up on certain elements of the curriculum, then I can still catch up. I don't have to start writing on the 22nd of May if I'm in grade 1 to or grade 4 to 9, the area that they do write exams in. I can hold back a bit because all the marks needs to be submitted at the end of January of each academic year. And if I want to do a holiday in the middle of February, I can do that. I don't have to stick to a timetable as in a typical school. So that is the flexibility, and I think that is the big distinguishing factor between what happens in a main school or mainstream school environment and what happens in home education. And when the tutor can be flexible with the parent around this and can assist the parent and service the parent where they need, and this situation where we are all currently finding ourselves in has opened the door to tutoring online so much more, and parents are seeing the value of their child actually getting that individualized attention, then it really even opens more doors and just makes it for that child not having that same kind of stress that a lot of the other kids are currently sitting with. I hope that answers it.
Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Let's see if we have another hand or two raised. Edith, I see you have a question. I'm unmuting you, Edith. There we go. Edith, you are unmuted from our side. You may unmute yourself and ask your question. Edith, you can just press on the little grayed out mic and just unmute yourself. Okay, Edith, if you have a question later on, you're also welcome to ask it, or you can just post your question in the question box as well. We have a little bit more time. We don't want to keep everyone much longer, but is there another question or two perhaps? It seems the questions are answered. I see Zandi has just posted a question. Let's see. If I want to start tutoring grade 1s in 2021, should I register now to be able to advertise? Zandi, ideally you can already register now. There's no reason why you can't register. Our registrations for Impaq registrations opens on the 1st of September of this year. So that is normally when we start opening up registrations for parents. So I do think it might be a good idea to register at least before that time, before we open up, so that we have your details on our website available. Maybe another question or two. I see a hand raised, Jaco Botha. Jaco, I have unmuted you. You're welcome to ask your question.
So raai ek Afrikaans praat, nee, Engels is nou nie so wonders nie.
I'll translate, so don't worry.
Ek wil net gou seker maak, ons het 'n e-mail gekry wat gesê het die graad 10 tot 12, so hulle is nog nie verseker wanneer hulle eksamen gaan begin nie. Maar as ek reg verstaan, jy nou gesê die 26ste Mei. Is ek reg?
Yeah, 22 May. Okay, so Jaco wants to know about the examination. So we've recently sent out an email to all of the parents and tutors that Impaq has. Grades 4 to 9 can still continue with their examinations, which and the exam papers are made available on the 22nd of May. But grade 10 to 12. Now, in grade 10 to 12, all those kids needs to be registered with an assessment body, and in our instance, it is Sakai. And Sakai answers to Umalusi, same that DBE, as well as IEB schools. Those assessment bodies are all answering to Umalusi, and Umalusi actually oversees the entire National Senior Certificate, and for that reason, oversees the entire FET. So at this point in time, we still don't have an answer for grade 10, 11, and 12 in terms of what's going to happen with the June examination. A lot changes in that phase, and it's so much more stricter than grade 9 and downwards. So for now, the June examinations has been postponed. We are awaiting to find out what is going to happen with those exams.
Okay.
Pleasure. Okay, let's see if there's perhaps one more hand raised. I'm not seeing any hands. And then I see someone has said, oh, Yuki wants to know that that the webinar is recorded. That is correct, Yuki. As far as I know, Marika always sends it through to the tutors. We've started making available some of our webinars on YouTube, on our YouTube channel. We've hosted fantastic grade 10 to 12 webinars, academic webinars. They are all available on our YouTube channel. So I'll just ask Marika, I'm pretty sure this one will be sent through to the tutors. If not being sent to you, then we will make it available through our YouTube channel, and we'll definitely let you know. Okay, and then I see there's one more question. How often does the material grade specific change? Sunny, we try to update our content as regularly as possible, or whenever it is really needed. So from year to year, especially in the foundation phase, for example, we have done a lot of upgrades over the past 2 years. So that has changed significantly. But year on year, we do smaller changes. So normally what we say is, if you want to keep a book for following year, just check with us so that we can verify how much it has changed. In terms of content, the CAPS curriculum isn't changing that much. So in terms of the entire curriculum, it won't change significantly. But we often do find that we need to upgrade at least the books, add more examples, just to give a better experience overall. So annually, we do change some of the content. So that brings us to the end of our presentation for tonight. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for all of the questions that we've received. We've really enjoyed receiving those and being able to answer it. Please be in contact with your sales consultant. They are there to support you throughout this way, giving you advice. And then once they hand you over to our tutor relationship administrators, you will definitely be in excellent hands to help you along your way. All of the best. Stay safe, stay healthy, and I'm adding, stay warm because winter is upon us. Have a great evening. Goodbye.